Oh, yeah. What kind of things did you do on the district level to encourage the teachers to take what they've learned in the professional developments and actually implement them? Like, was that just you saying, I like this and I want to do it, or was there some monitoring or encouragement?
One of the things that Sean actually did last year, once we began this, is she required all of her teachers to use their bulletin boards in a way that show that the teachers are using these strategies.
And is she a different
This is Sean, yes, sorry.
And that was to prepare for the ghost walk. That came out of our DLT. They felt because we needed to show 100% implementation of the particular strategies that we chose, how are we going to see that that is happening? So the building leadership team said, hey, why don't we tell teachers that every month they need to put something new on display that demonstrates that they have used these strategies in their class?
And this was prior to the walkthrough. This was prior to the walkthrough because the walkthrough gives us a little more of that monitoring. But prior to that, we were doing things as a building team, asking departments or grade levels to produce some kind of evidence. Either we'll talk about logs in a little while, and
I think you'll see more of that. But I think that healthy competition, you know, that Bethany was talking about, I mean, that's not a bad thing. You know, if you're a teacher who puts up a store-bought bulletin board display all the time, and you're seeing all these other people around you that are putting these types of artifacts up, it's motivating for you to up your game a little bit. And I think that's really what happened. But then it turned into, it wasn't that then. It wasn't just upping our game to compete with the teacher next door. It was, look at how cool this stuff is. Look at what these kids are producing. And then it just became more of a norm to see this kind of work. We don't see any of that other stuff anymore. And I think that happened more quickly than what we thought it might have happened. So.
And I think one of the other things that we thought of, and we didn't really think of this purposefully, but it came about that we had our goals that 100% of our teachers were going to implement a strategy weekly that we had taught them. And we also had this attendance goal about implementing our policy, making sure that we were following our policy. And all of those goals could have been done either in a very authoritative way. You will do this, and you will follow this policy. And we started to go down that path a little bit at the beginning. But we found that it was much more effective to go down in a positive way down that path. Instead of talking about attendance policy and making sure that everyone's following every single rule, we kind of switched to, let's make people want to come here, and let's provide some incentives for people to be here. And that has been a much more positive way for our DLT to approach things. Same thing with the building level teams. We were talking about, okay, let's have people have to fill out this paper weekly and turn all these things in, and it becomes a kind of monitoring nightmare. But when you turn it a little bit to the positive, and we started to talk about that positive intention, we all want to do the right stuff, then it became more of a, this is just the best way to do business. And so we have had to do less of the, you will do this. The high school has an example of one of the first things they did, I'm not sure where it is.
It's over here.
One of the first things, and this is a typical old-fashioned high school, you know, a lot of lecture, a lot of very quiet classrooms. And one of the first things they did after learning about the similarities and differences piece of Marzano's work was that they asked every teacher to, maybe you guys want to talk about it?
We had to.
Yeah, go ahead. This is their BLT.
They had to submit an activity that we did in class, a lesson on similarities and differences, and we were asked to share them in our staff meetings. As a high school teacher, a lot of us, it's very isolating in the fact that I'm the only person that teaches what I teach, so the idea of collaborating, but the ideas that I could get from someone in the math department, someone that you wouldn't normally think of collaborating with, are, you know, displayed in a book where it's easy enough to look it up, and it really was a good sharing experience.
And you can even take, you know, the setup of a T-chart or something in there and tweak it to fit your lesson and kind of adapt something from a foods class, you know, comparing a bran muffin to a yeast-free muffin and the cooking techniques. And I can say, oh, I like how she set that up and set up her graphic organizer, and then I can tweak it to fit, you know, a math lesson. So it was very inspiring to see that.
And this book, start passing it around. Okay, so this book, the principal asked, I want everybody to share a lesson. And we thought, oh, you know, we're not going to get a whole lot of stuff, and people aren't going to. And you know what? Every single teacher in the building, with the exception of one, put something in that book. And when that book got made and put in every teacher's mailbox, that teacher came in with his lesson. He's like, can you stick this in? And then they had to make a copy and stick it in. So rather than the strict monitoring of I'm watching what you do, and even with our walkthroughs, it's not we're watching what you do. We want to see what's going on, and we have better conversations in the hallway about how great things are. It's not the gotcha trying to find out what's missing. It's really that reinforcing and support of what we're doing and making it safe for teachers to go out and try things they never would have tried in the past. So that it really has become a more positive environment than it had been. One of the things that is kind of interesting to note is that we didn't, as a BLT or DLT, say, you have to do these things. We basically said implement the strategies, and we gave the structure. You have to have a meeting, you need to have roles, and take notes, and we want you to talk about this. We gave them an agenda item. Everything that you're seeing and hearing and all that, that all came from the teachers. They're very creative people, and they will run with these things. So we set the structure in place, and we didn't really have to put any more demands on them than that. We asked you to come to your department meeting, and we asked you to do this agenda. That's basically it. And they came up with all of this stuff, and they keep kind of coming up with more kinds of, every day they have better and better ideas. I'm going to talk about this a little